Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Potential Unleashed. We're back with another One Piece chapter review, One Piece chapter 1023, titled Two Peas in a Pod. I will say, everything about this chapter was perfect. The cover panel, I guess the cover spread, we got that. Then we have the cover page, the chapter itself, we had action, we had story aspects. I guess it's everything, but really deep story aspects that were important. And then we were left on a good cliffhanger. And I want to say, before I ever record these videos, how I do it, I wake up a little earlier, about 4:30 in the morning, and then I read One Piece's chapter, My Hero, and Black Clover, because they all come out at the same time. And then I reread One Piece's again, and then I do my review. And I will say, all three of them, they were bangers. Like, I don't know what the authors were doing this weekend, but they all had great chapters. So let's get into it. The cover spread was Vivi hanging around other birds, other bird-like creatures, and Karu getting jealous. Karu actually was one of my favorite characters. I liked him over Vivi, and I kind of wanted him to be on the crew, but it is what it is. In the actual chapter, we have Zoro and Sanji still fighting King and Queen. They are knocked down. Everybody's like, oh, look at Zoro. Oh, look at Sanji. The crowd goes wild. And we have Chopper, the old Chopper, he still hasn't recovered yet, talking about, hey, Zoro's back, we're happy that he's back. However, well, he would hate to see what happens, or hates to find out what would happen after this battle. And I'm a little bit concerned, because at first I was just brushing it off. I was like, oh, it's not really going to be that important. It would just affect him, nothing happens. He had that scene, but nothing bad was going to happen. But because they keep on bringing it every time Zoro is mentioned, I think they've brought it up, it has me like, oh, shoot, he might be in some serious trouble. So I think one of two things happens. Either one, Zoro die. Oh, no, he doesn't die, but somebody dies in Zoro's stead. They would protect him. Could be a Kaiser dying. Could be Law with Aegis surgery. Or it's Hiyori, or I'm sorry, whoever healed the scabbards. They're going to be the ones to heal Zoro. I think it's Hiyori, and I think that one is the more likely solution. As they are fighting, different people want to interfere with their fight. However, Kawamatsu goes in and stops them, where Hirogoro says, hey, this is a duel between these two men, let them have this, we're going to protect them and make sure nobody steps in the way of their duel. Marco, he gets a flashback of Whitebeard saying that I think Whitebeard was drunk at this time, saying, hey, do you guys believe that they were gods above Mary Jo's, I forget how to pronounce it. I'm always bad with pronouncing that stuff. But Marco spaces out on the battlefield. Izo protects him, and he's like, Marco, what are you doing? Like, you don't ever space out. And Marco's like, hey, I knew you got my back. And he asks Izo, do you believe in gods? Where Izo says, hey, you're starting to sound like a drunk Pops. Now, this could be one thing we know about the sun god that was brought up earlier. Who could be that person above the red line above Mary Jo's before the celestial dragons? I believe the celestial dragons are always depicted as gods. That's why some people speculate the Will of D are like devils who challenge the gods or something like that. But who was that former god? Could be the sun god, Joy Boy, Imu-sama. I don't really know. We get back to Sanji and Zoro vs. King and Queen, where Queen states, hey, if you want to beat us, you got to put your back into it. Reminds me of All Might versus All For One for some reason. He was like, hey, I didn't have my back into that punch. But Queen says, Jack the Drought, Queen the Plague, and King the Wildfire, we're the calamities for a reason. He says, or we're the All-Stars for a reason, because of our strength. Now, this reminds me of what Sakashi said to Frankie about the Tobiropo being the strongest, or being the reason for the Beast Pirate's success. And what happened to him? He got clapped, like in the next chapter or something like that. So when Queen said that, I'm like, Queen, just, yeah. But they end up fighting. Sanji, an interesting thing, Sanji said that after the second time using his raid suit, his body feels off. And I was like, what? But he did take a nasty kick from King. So, but obviously when you're trying something new, your body's not going to be used to it, or you're not going to be used to it. So it makes sense to why Sanji's not used to his raid suit. I don't think it's anything too bad. I just think maybe the damage, or it's something on his body that is a little bit taxing. I don't think it's too bad, but he hasn't used it yet, and he's still fighting Queen, still hasn't used it, and I don't think he'll use it anytime soon. During the fight, Zoro and Sanji, they're going back and forth, where they're bantering. However, they are protecting each other. Zoro protects Sanji, Sanji protects Zoro, etc. I made a TikTok about that. I was like, hey, what if this is a 1v1, v1v1 with 2v2 aspects, how sometimes they save each other? And I was right. But Queen, he mentions, hey, like all of Judge's brats, are you enhanced? He thinks Sanji Diablo Jumbo is enhanced. He's like, well, no. He said it's not. It's just like I believe he says the heat or my passion burns brighter or something along those lines. Where Queen, he brings up, well, are you like a Linarian? I believe that's what he said. And King looked, because we know that King basically comes from a fire conjuring race. Basically, they can set themselves on fire. And I have what I found a Lunarian is on my screen, so I'm gonna read it for you guys. So it says a Lunarian is an imagined inhabitant of the moon. It also says, like the gems, the Lunarians are immortal and ageless. Since they were made of spirits of humanity, they are also able to recover after being dispersed. Just like, I guess, King can set himself on fire and can recover, maybe? I don't know. Zoro is now fighting King one-on-one, where King, when Zoro goes to attack him, two of his blades, the two that he have in his hands, they are caught in like a little grit, kind of like a pick or a comb, like little teeth or holes in like the sword. So that's how King's sword is made up of. And so Zoro's like, huh? So King goes and attacks him, but however Zoro blocked it with the sword in his mouth, which is impressive because Zoro's mouth, compared to his arm, is not as strong. But hey, and Zoro's like, hey, so you're just a bloodthirsty mofo. You're not a real swordsman. King's like, well, okay, well, it's a fight. Like, why would I resort to regular techniques? So Zoro's going through it. He's like, all right. He said, I agree. This is a fight, so don't be surprised if I end up biting through your neck or through your throat or something like this. They're going back and forth. Kawamatsu and Hirogoro, they have an interesting conversation where they're talking about, hey, the reason why I didn't protest Yuri giving him Enma is because he reminds me of someone, which I find is BS, alright? Because this man Kawamatsu was pretty darn upset when Yuri offered Enma. The person that Zoro reminds them of is Shimosuki Ushimaru. He was a former dynamo of Ringo. They say that Zoro and his fighting style, the way that they hold a blade, is the same. And they also say that Ushimaru, that he is a descendant of Ryuma. And they also say that Zoro has a scar or missing one of his eyes and is a one-eyed swordsman, just like Ryuma. And they also talk about, hey, Zoro was going to bring the Shushi back to Wano, so maybe it's fate. I think every One Piece fan, I've talked about this, a lot of other YouTubers talked about Zoro being a descendant of Wano. This could be more info. We might get more after the war, I don't know. But Zoro and King are clashing, Zoro and Sanji and Queen are clashing. And that's all we get from their fight from this chapter. And I'm going to skip a little bit. Well, I'm not skipping, but I'm not going to talk about it much in detail. Basically, we get Inurashi versus Jack some more. They're fighting for a long time, and they end up turning into, well, at least, Inurashi, he turns into a Sulong form because there's a crack in the ceiling where the moon is shining, and that was because of Ashura. We cut to Nekomamushi. He's also in a Sulong form, fighting against Perospero. He says, hey, Pedro, crack you a drink for this one. This will be fun. Basically, he's going to kill or attempt to kill Perospero for Pedro. We also got to see Wanda and Carrot. I don't even know when the last time we saw Carrot. So they were somewhere on the screen. And then to end the chapter, we cut to such a beautiful panel. We cut to Luffy. We see Momonosuke. He did age 20 years. His dragon looks exactly like Kaido. He looks so good in the color. Somebody did a color drawing of it. I'll have it on the screen for you guys. It looks amazing. Everybody's frightened though because, well, he looks very similar to Kaido, which I don't know how they mistake him for Kaido. One is blue, one is pink. I don't know, but Luffy, he's like, hey, Momo, let's go take back Wano together. And so Momo's like, yeah, I cannot wait to hear how his voice actor is deep. Like, we know his 20 years, his voice is going to be deep. I want to see his new voice actor, but overall, just a great chapter, phenomenal. Now, if I'm being honest, I don't know the direction we're going to go next chapter. I don't think we're going to jump to like the other Straw Hats who defeated the Toby Roper or anything. We could very well cut back to Sanji and Zoro versus King and Queen. We could also jump to Yamato and Kaido. Maybe that's where we get the flashback. We could see Luffy flying in the sky. I do think that it won't. I think that the chapter, I believe 1025, will be when Luffy finally meets Kaido again. I think it'll happen and Oda would do something where we go on break so that we can feel sad and upset that we cannot see it. I don't know, but this was a 10 out of 10 chapter for me. I enjoyed this way more than last week's chapter, and I thought last week's chapter was like a 9.5 or a 10 out of 10. But let me know your guys' thoughts about it below. If you guys enjoy regular anime content, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to unleash your potential.